Okay, so to conclude this part of the process, let me go back to the process. It is this: locate the relevant literature, and we talk about keywords, electronic search, and the Prisma strategy. So when you finish with all of that, it will appear in the chapter 2, section 1. So chapter 2, literature review, section 1, method of the literature review. Don't get confused with the method of the thesis. That's another thing. We will talk about that later. But this is the method of the literature review. So the objective of this section is to be transparent about what you did to collect the literature and to convince the reader that your review is reliable. Also to show and justify your choices. You made a lot of choices, so you have to be transparent about how did you decide on those choices. So some strategies in here: be structured, but report everything. I told you in, I think 2 videos ago, that you had 4 steps, or reflect on those 4 steps: the keywords, the search engine that you use, the logic on the quotes and ands and all of that, and where did you finish. So here are also some ideas. You can start with an introduction, like a paragraph introducing the whole chapter. Then talk about the keywords, talk about the search, talk about the quality, talk about the initial sample, and all of this justifying and being transparent. Why those words? Which words? Why those words? Where did you get inspiration from? Why not other words? The search again. Why Scopus? Why not Web of Science? Why only Scopus? Like all of these things. Quality. Why Scopus index, or why ABS? Initial sample again. How many papers finish in your first part and in your Excel table? And then how did you do the screening, which that's where the Prisma is very useful. So first I did a screening of all of this, and I realized that from my initial list of 150, 70 didn't really talk about the topic, so I dropped them. I also dropped this because they were in German, and then that's the screen. And then from the papers that you actually read, then you realize that you had to insert more manual search, and then you finish with a final sample. Something that I was forgetting from the Prisma example, and that I want to come back in here. Maybe you finish with 55 studies included, and that's good. And maybe you go into the empirics and you realize that auditing and family firms are important, but also maybe it is important audit committees, and you didn't include audit committees in this search. If that is the case, and it might happen, and it's good that it happens, you need to, it is possible that you need to go back to the research problem to include the audit committee, because it's important. And then the problem again, the audit committee might be important. And then in the literature, the trick here, and you can do it, this is not an issue, is that you don't have to do everything with the audit committee. You can include manually articles from audit committee. So from here, it can be possible that you add more. So from the 55 studies, then you add more papers, because you know that that's important, and then you manually search for these papers. It is tricky, but I think your supervisor can guide you if this happens. And usually it's only a matter of adding 2 or 3 or 4 papers that about a concept that is important. And I also say, you have to go back to the research problem, incorporate the issue of audit committees. It doesn't have to redo everything, because it's just incorporating something, so 1 or 2 paragraphs, and then you include that in the literature review again, so it will appear in here. So it is, as I said, it's a living thing, so you have to come back. So if you wish, in the method section, you can use subsections, like maybe for keywords, maybe subsection for search engines, if you want. I don't know, it's up to you. And you can use the Prisma, and you can even put the Prisma in there, this chart. So avoid superficial descriptions. Like, as I said, don't only mention, I use Google Scholar, but explain why Google Scholar. Acknowledge the advantages of Google Scholar, and also acknowledge the limitations of Google Scholar. Justify your choices, as I said. There are many choices that you make that you have to put in there. So this is the end of the literature review method. In the next videos, we will talk about the next step, which now is analyze the literature.